Imagine being a young teenager who cannot go outside for 2 years. You cannot play in the sun or breathe fresh air. You must stay quiet all day, and always worry that someone might hear you. This was the life of Anne Frank, a girl who lived in hiding during World War II. Anne Frank's story is one of hope, courage, and the honest words of a young girl in a dark time. Anne Frank was born on June 12, 1929, in Frankfurt, Germany. She lived with her father, Otto, her mother, Edith, and her older sister, Margot. Anne was a lively, curious girl who had many friends and loved to laugh. Unlike her older sister, Margot, who was quiet and serious, Anne was talkative and full of energy. She loved to read and write, and she dreamed of becoming a writer one day. In 1933, when Anne was 4 years old, Adolf Hitler and his Nazi party came to power in Germany. The Nazis were dangerous for Jewish people like Anne's family. Otto Frank decided to move his family to the Netherlands to find safety. They settled in Amsterdam. Anne learned Dutch and started school there, making new friends. For a while, life felt normal again for the Franks. But in May 1940, World War II reached the Netherlands. The German army invaded and took control of the country. Soon, life became very hard and dangerous for Jewish families. They had to follow strict anti-Jewish laws. Anne and Margot could no longer go to their school because they were Jewish. Still, the Franks tried to live as normally as possible for as long as they could. On June 12, 1942, Anne turned 13. Her favorite gift was a diary. She began writing in it right away, filling it with her thoughts and feelings. She named the diary Kitty and wrote each entry like a letter to this imaginary friend. A few weeks after her birthday, the danger grew worse. In July 1942, Anne's sister Margot received a letter telling her to report to a Nazi work camp. The family knew they had to hide to survive. On July 6, 1942, the Frank family went into hiding in a secret apartment that Anne's father had prepared. It was a small set of rooms in the back of Otto's office building, hidden behind a bookcase. They called it the Secret Annex. The Secret Annex became the new home for Anne, her family, and 4 others. A few days after the Franks went into hiding, another family joined them, a couple and their teenage son, Peter. Later, a dentist also joined them. In total, 8 people lived in the Secret Annex. They had to live in cramped space and stay completely silent during the day. Any noise could give them away. Life in the Secret Annex was very difficult. The rooms were small and dark, and the windows were covered with curtains. During the day, everyone had to be as quiet as possible, so no one downstairs would hear them. They could never go outside, and they often felt trapped inside. Anne missed feeling the sun on her face and breathing fresh air, but she tried hard to stay positive. To pass the time, Anne read books, did schoolwork, and wrote in her diary. She wrote about her feelings and fears, the tension in the annex, and the boredom of being stuck inside. She described her arguments with her mother and the constant fear of being discovered. But Anne also wrote about normal teenage things, like her hopes for the future and her feelings for Peter. Anne and Peter grew close while they were in hiding. They often sat together in the attic to talk quietly, and his friendship made her feel less alone. Through these experiences and her writing, Anne was growing from a little girl into a thoughtful young woman. Despite the stress and fear of their situation, the people in the secret annex tried to keep hope alive. They told stories and quietly celebrated birthdays and holidays with small homemade gifts. For Anne, a moment of peace was to climb into the attic and look at the sky. Through the small attic window, she could see the moon and a tall chestnut tree behind the house. Looking at the outside world made her feel a bit more free and gave her comfort. Anne never stopped dreaming about the future. She often imagined what she would do after the war. She wanted to ride a bike again, go back to school, and travel freely. She also wanted to become a famous writer one day. "I want to go on living even after my death," Anne wrote in her diary. By this she meant she hoped her story would be remembered, even if she did not survive. The families in hiding were not completely alone. A few trusted friends helped them. Otto's colleagues, like a woman named Miep Guys, brought them food, supplies, and news from outside. These helpers risked their lives to aid the people in the secret annex. Sometimes the people in hiding heard news about the war that gave them hope it might end soon. After nearly 2 years in hiding, on the morning of August 4, 1944, the secret annex was discovered by Nazi police. The officers arrested everyone there. The Frank family and the others were sent to concentration camps. Anne, Margot, and their mother were separated from Otto. In late 1944, Anne and Margot were moved to a camp called Bergen-Belsen in Germany. There, in early 1945, both sisters became very sick with a disease called typhus. Margot died from the illness, and a short time later Anne died as well. She was only 15 years old. It was just weeks before the war ended in Europe. Anne's mother, Edith, also died in the camps. Of the 8 people who hid in the secret annex, only Anne's father, Otto Frank, survived the war. After the war ended in 1945, Otto returned to Amsterdam. One of the helpers, Miep Guys, had saved Anne's diary after the arrest and gave it to him. Otto read Anne's words and was deeply moved. He saw that Anne had hoped to share her story with the world, so he decided to fulfill her wish. He arranged for the diary to be published in 1947. The book, later known in English as The Diary of a Young Girl, became famous around the world. It has been translated into many languages and read by millions of people. Readers everywhere have been moved by Anne's honest words and hopeful spirit. Today, the building that housed the secret annex in Amsterdam is a museum called the Anne Frank House. People from all over the world visit to see the tiny rooms where Anne lived in hiding and to view her original diary. They can even see the bookcase that once hid the entrance to the secret annex. Through this museum and through Anne's writing, new generations continue to learn about her life. Anne Frank once wrote, "In spite of everything, I still believe that people are really good at heart." Even after all she went through, she held on to hope and kindness. Anne's life was short, but her story continues to inspire people around the world. In the end, Anne did become a writer as she dreamed, and her voice has lived on past her death. Her diary reminds us of the strength of the human spirit. Anne's story teaches us about the value of hope, courage, and kindness, even in the darkest of times.